Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. It's important to watch what is happening in other countries, specifically countries that have given up their right to bear arms or a lot of their human rights they've given to the government. Places like China and obviously Australia. If you're not even familiar with some of the stuff going on in Australia, they're passing knife ban laws in the state because they've gotten so far ahead with getting rid of the guns. Now they're convincing the civilians that they need to get rid of knives. And of course, they're complying as they live in this dystopian hell over in Australia. And it's important to note, keeping an eye on the digital ID system, because Australia is the next one that's about to roll out their digital ID system. And this is a global system. This is what they're trying to get in every single country, including America. That's why they've got us so divided. They've got us down each other's throats, and at the same time, you're distracted by that. They're deliberately sabotaging our infrastructure. The Democrats and the Republicans are on board with the digital ID system. Don't let the Republicans fool you into thinking, well, we don't want a central bank digital currency, that we're not going to have a digital ID system, because the plan is for all of us to have a digital ID system. They've been easing us into it with doing things on our phone. And now, like you'll see in this video clip I'll play for you, let me just give you a few of the talking points. The government is developing the new digital ID, but first must gain the public's trust. And of course, how do they gain the public's trust? Well, they gain the public's trust. This is what they do with every single one of these things they roll out. They will roll it out and nothing will happen. And that's how they convince people that, see, it's not slavery. See, we're not shutting off your bank account. See, we're not doing this. And then as time goes by, which I've always mentioned and said, is their friend, right? As time goes by, people become desensitized. Then they force you into it. Kind of like where we're at now with phones, right? People out there rejected the phone at first, then they started getting comfortable with the phone. Now everybody has a phone. And the people out there who don't have a phone, you might have noticed if you go certain places, you can't even get in without having some type of QR code scan on a phone. So what they do is they make you feel like a third world citizen and go over to a laptop or a computer over on the side to get into certain buildings. And you have to go in and put in your information to get in. They make it difficult for you to even get in when you should just be able to walk in and out of places freely. This is all done by design. And keep in mind all the stuff we've heard about hacking and cyber attacks. This works both ways. While they're telling you about cyber attacks and your bank account under attack, all that stuff, they're trying to push you into a digital ID at the same time. And people go, well, how are they going to push us into a digital ID if they keep telling us about all these things happening with cybersecurity? Well, they're going to tell you that this is bulletproof, that the digital ID is not hackable, that you can't, it's so encrypted that nobody would ever be able to take any of your information, and they will fall for it. The other thing, of course, is convenience. The video I'm about to play for you, new digital ID aims to take the hassle out of renting, banking, and visiting the pub. Of course, because our enslavement comes in the word convenience. The more we give into this technology because of the convenience of it, the more they're able to take control over our lives. And it is not a conspiracy theory. This is what's happening, and people need to realize how this works. This is what they're airing over there as they continue to tell you, don't worry, the government's not going to do this or that to you. We'll watch out and make sure they don't. Little by little saying, hey, and you also don't have to join yet. Well, of course you don't have to join yet because they don't want you to feel like you're getting forced into it. They expect you to sign up willfully as time goes by because they're going to make it harder for you to survive without a digital ID. Hence, you won't be able to buy or sell without it. Take a look.
Australians became familiar with scanning QR codes during the COVID pandemic, but the government says this is different.
Text is something brand new and world-leading.
Labor says businesses will soon be able to opt into technology called Trust Exchange, or TEX, to verify a customer's identity, allowing personal information the government already has to be shared with the tap of a phone.
It's a secure means by which to exchange with a third party who you are.
The aim is for customers to hand over less personal data, preventing businesses from storing it and becoming targets for hackers.
So how would this work in practice? Say you're checking into a hotel and would usually hand over your passport. With TEX, you'd scan a QR code at the front desk that digitally shakes hands with your MyGov app. The app lets you choose what personal information gets shared with the hotel, and you'll have a record in your MyGov app of what you shared and where.
cyber experts have concerns about that record.
If the government's involved in every transaction, then they have the potential to know that I've gone to this hotel at this time.
But the government says it won't be tracking how people use the technology.
Australians would understandably want to be satisfied that the privacy issues have been thought through here.
With text, data will be secure. Text will be time-saving, it'll be money-saving.
Minister Shorten says companies such as Google and Telstra will be involved in developing the technology, with a pilot ready to be trialled next year.
Australians are happy to tap and go. Now the government wants them to tap and show.
What we want to do is make life easier, allow your credentials to be at your fingertips and keep your personal information safer.
A digital ID called TEX linked to MyGov, removing the need to hand over passports, driver's licences, birth certificates for companies to store and too often lose to hackers.
The Optus incident, one of the first on a large scale, showed why we have to do things differently.
The information will be heavily encrypted, so no sensitive data is shared or stored, using a QR code and a simple tap to verify ID for hotel bookings, hiring cars, signing up for phones and more.
This is really a game changer in putting citizens at the centre of their identity management.
The TEX system will use personal data already stored on MyGov and send a digital receipt of all information shared and with whom. The chance of fraud reduced, but not entirely removed.
Some people will go and try and create false MyGov identities. We're trying to strengthen all of the issues against that.
The TEX system is in the final stages of development with the aim of being rolled out next year. Using it, though, will be optional. Google and Telstra are helping develop the technology.
Text will be time-saving, it'll be money-saving.
The opposition raising questions.
Mr Shorten's talking a big game, but let's wait and see whether he can actually deliver.
Saying tap and show is a wait and see.
So again, this is being rolled out in Australia. And eventually, if you don't understand how this works, the digital ID moves to a phone, right? So it's people out there are going to go, well, you know, it's annoying anyway. I got to get my license out. I got to get my insurance card out. I got to get my, passport out. Why can't I have it all in one place? Well, that's how you fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. When really you shouldn't even need all these things to identify yourself. But of course, they fear porn people into giving up all of their freedoms, into thinking that we need all of these IDs to go here, go there, do this, do that for safety measures. Then at the same time, they allow people into our country and every other country out there that they're doing this deliberate invasion at the border in, which is all done by design. Those people don't need IDs, right? It's utter insanity that we're allowing it. But if you don't know, eventually the digital ID, which starts on your phone, ends up inside your body. You become the QR code, okay? The next step that they don't tell you about is while you get comfortable with the digital ID and you go places and scan stuff on your phone, is to get the phone inside of you. I've played the clips for you over and over and over again. The main theme of The Matrix that no one ever talks about is turning you into a battery. The main theme, one of the main themes that they talk about at the World Economic Forum, is getting the phone inside of your body. And of course, I've shown you this clip of the smart mark, but it's important to pay attention because it's conveniently called the smart mark.
The Matrix. Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
Future, you will have such a good digital twin that you'll be able to go into the metaverse, into a virtual reality world, turn a dial, pull a switch, feel around, and actually change it in the real plant?
Absolutely. And this is not far off. I mean, the physical and the digital worlds, they will grow together, and the result is exactly what you just said.
I wanted to ask when you all think we're going to move from this form factor to something that's on your face, glasses, and when computing's all on the edge.
All right, 50 seconds. Who wants to answer quickly?
I think it will go. It will. First of all, it will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
Stunned by the sudden rollout of Rook Unlimited's most fantastic device ever, the Smart Mark. Because the Smart Mark is more than just a phone. It's part of you. Use it as cash and even shoot video. Distribution points are all over the city. The Rook Unlimited Smart Mark is worth the wait.
The Smart Mark has brought order to my life.
And the best part? It's absolutely free.
23% of the population has been given the Smart Mark, number 1.
Time to test our system, numbers. Put our new recruits to work. Subtly.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
I ought to find the Flex Fighters.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
You call yourself a man of science. World order is our destiny. Submit to a Smart Mark and join the glorious victory of order over chaos.
People think Smart Marks are brand new Rook tech that will improve their lives.
But your chip makes it possible to control everyone in Charter City, whether they're marked or not.
So eventually, this is what the world looks like, right? We have a digital ID system in place in all these countries. Again, it'll be global, the digital ID, your passport, your life, everything will be, right? But to start, it's not going to be inside your body. First, they need you to comply to this, and convenience is the name of the game. Then over time, which will be short, a few years, the next step will be the transition of the phone inside of the body. Do you see where this is going? Why I put in the clip of the Smart Mark, right? Wearable tech going into your skin underneath your body. But first, the most important thing, which is always the most important thing, is the propaganda. This system does not function without their propaganda. This system also does not function without technology. So for those of you who say over and over again, how do we get out of this? Who think that the answer is a civil war or this or that or going and rioting against the government, separate yourself from technology. Become less dependent on technology for information, which means when you have a question, instead of a Google search, have books on hand, have books and things that are offline so that you could take care of yourself without depending on technology. The less dependent we are on technology, the less control they have over us. It's that simple. But the more we move forward with tech, the more we're getting closer to our digital enslavement. And one of the things out there that's really important to pay attention to, not just other countries who are moving forward with digital IDs, but watching how the theatrics of politics plays out. Because a common theme here that you're seeing is that Republicans are okay with the technology. They're okay with doing things. It's going to prevent cyber attacks and all this other stuff and misinformation, because that's what this really leads to, is the misinformation stuff. The other thing in Australia, which I mentioned a couple of months ago, was really how they want to criminalize people for posting stuff online.
In the words of Cybersecurity Minister Claire O'Neill, just about every problem that we have as a country is either being exacerbated by or caused by social media. And we're not seeing a skerrick of responsibility taken by these companies. And why is this happening? Because on social media, bad behaviour is good for business. The social media giants, they profit from evil videos. They profit from bullying. They profit from online con artists. They profit from glamorising eating disorders. In the words of a British father who, like Wayne, lost their child to suicide, they monetise misery. In Meta's case, according to a recent report in the UK's Sunday Times magazine, that profit is a staggering $136 million every single day. It's understandable that we focus on the content that is causing the harm, but the other truly damaging aspect of all this is the partnership between the content and the conduct of the businesses that distribute it. The content and the conduct are partners in crime. We know this is the case from Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen. She says that Facebook knew its algorithms were damaging teenagers' mental health. It knew that posts instigated ethnic violence in countries like Ethiopia, and it failed to curb misinformation before the Capitol Hill riots on January 6. Around the world, people are demanding that the days of the digital Wild West have to stop. The algorithms and those that operate them in total secrecy are the biggest villains. It's time we made them accountable.
And they're playing at people's heartstrings by telling you these stories about young teens who end their lives because somebody bullied them online. They don't build people up anymore and say, hey, who cares what somebody says? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. They don't do any of that stuff anymore. They want you to lay down and be emotionally weak because, again, that's how global communism works. And then you go to Big Brother so Big Brother can protect you. And really for Big Brother, it's not about protecting civilians from having their feelings hurt. It's about censoring speech, because the more we allow censorship of speech because you say a certain word and somebody's offended by that word and they can put more laws in place, eventually you won't be able to question the news, and you certainly won't be able to question the government. And that's what it's all about for them. That's what the digital ID is about as well. It's not just buying and selling online. It's talking online. There will be no anonymous. There will be none of us speaking online without having a digital ID in place. And that's when I'm done with speaking online, when that is the way that is, although there'll still be loopholes and ways to get around it and using other people's IDs and stuff like that. But once it's embedded in you, then there's really no way around it. And that's the step that comes later. First, we get the digital ID in place. Then we get the digital ID, where the digital ID and the QR code becomes one with you. And people out there think it's crazy, but when it actually happens, they'll be desensitized by the process so much that they won't even see it coming, because that's how this mind control works. It's easing you into this stuff, right? I mean, the propaganda you saw being aired in Australia is, why do we need a digital ID? What's good about it? Well, then you think about all the propaganda you've heard over the last couple of years, right? Cyber attacks, bank attacks, AT&T attacks, data breach, all done by design to get you compliant. That's what the news is there for. It's to condition you, and it's conditioning people into being fearful that we need something else. And then when they come in and tell you that, well, a digital ID is unhackable, nobody will go, well, how is that unhackable? But this other crap is hackable. And then they'll go, well, it's encrypted. It's all things like they do with magic potions and other things they call science, then CERN, that type of stuff, where they don't expect you to understand. So they say, well, you can't hack it. Right? Just like with CERN, oh, we're not trying to open a black hole. It's scientific stuff that you wouldn't get. So then the majority of sheeple out there go, oh, okay, well, they're telling us that it's not hackable anymore because of, codes and stuff. Okay, I'm in. And then they go, well, look, in the beginning, all these people who got the digital ID, they're living wonderfully, right? That'll be the next step. Oh, look at the people who have the digital ID. Look how easy life is for them. They'll air propaganda on the news, and they'll show you how easy it is for people to get in and out of the airport, how easy it is to go to a restaurant, get a reservation, the simplest crap. They'll just feed it to you so that you watch it and you go, all right, well, you hear it once, you hear it twice, you hear it 10 times, and you finally go, I think I'm going to get the digital ID, because you have one bad experience at the airport, which is deliberately being done, right? You go to the airport, you don't have a digital ID, they'll make the line harder, longer, more stressful on you, the more things you have to do to show that you're, safe to travel. And you'll go, with the digital ID, I don't even have to check my bag anymore. I don't have to do any of this stuff. I don't have to go through a security check. Nope. The digital ID, you don't have to do any of it. Oh, okay. And eventually they go, hey, all this stuff about digital ID being dangerous. What's the difference between me going online and banking with Bank of America or anything else? It's the same thing, man. No, it's not actually. It's not. Once you have your digital footprint all tied into your digital ID, you then officially belong to the government. You're officially a product of the government. And until that happens, we are still free. But once that happens, which is why I believe the digital ID ties into the mark of the beast, because again, your potion status, the vax, all those things are going to tie into the digital ID. And the digital ID just is going to be, your phone. You talk about doing it on your phone now with the QR code. It's going to be embedded in your genetic code. It's very simple to figure out. They've been telling us about this stuff. They've been giving us little hints at it with little test runs they've done, like the Amazon Go store, where you walk in the store and you walk out of the store. You don't have to pay cash. You don't have to do anything. You go in and out, right? That's what it's going to be. It's just going to be embedded in you. Your body is going to be the thing that gets scanned through the infrared, etc. Your body, your genetic code. When they talk about gene editing, what do you think they're eventually talking about and getting you ready for? So all of this stuff will be embedded. But for now, the government is going to roll this out to gain the public's trust. That's the key thing to pay attention to with this story in Australia. Gain the public's trust. They want to gain your trust Then they want to push propaganda to tell you how great and convenient it is. Then they'll push propaganda to say, look at all these crazy conspiracy nuts that were saying, oh, the government's going to shut off their bank account. The government's going to do this or that until everybody's fully compliant. Then they'll just start getting more and more hardcore after your freedoms. And it will be the people who once felt like they were free with their speech won't have free speech anymore, because if they question what the government, when the government suddenly decides that they're not pro, women's rights and they're not pro LGBT and all this other stuff, then it'll be too late, because you'll have a digital footprint, you'll have a digital ID, and then you won't be able to complain or criticize or have free thoughts anymore. That's what it all leads to. So Australia, once again, and all this stuff, like I said earlier, it all starts with civilians giving up their right to bear arms. That's where all this stuff starts. Those countries that give up their freedoms there are no longer a threat to the government. The government then just starts taking more and more and more. Like I said, Australia goes from no guns to what? Oh, they go from no guns to now no knives. They want to make sure you don't have knives. And now, like I mentioned recently, spreading into the UK, right? That's because the government can, once they get these things away from you, they're going to just take more and more and more. And with the digital ID, it goes beyond your comprehension of the things that they're going to limit. It's not just, people are like, well, maybe we do need that so people don't say hate speech online, because they can't wrap their heads around what hate speech is or isn't. And just the fact that it even exists is insanity, really. But how about when the government starts putting in carbon laws because of the climate agenda, and then they start saying, hey, you know what? You can't buy this at the grocery store this week. You're having 5 friends over. Well, you're all going to have to share one hamburger, and it's not going to be real meat. It's going to be plant-based meat to keep you weak and pump that estrogen into you. Oh, you want to go do this? You want to go do that? You want to go to the movies? You went to the movies last month. You can't leave your house this month. Then you'll start getting agitated by it, and it'll be too late, because you'll go, wait, I don't want to do this. Oh, tough. Because you've given all your rights up to the government. Now they're showing you their true colors, which most of us can already see. And again, I try to tell people out there who are Democrats, who hate me, hate my channel, even though I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, because it's all fake. Just imagine if Donald Trump had this power. Then they go, oh, right, that would be kind of frightening, right? But, telling the people who are stuck in the hive mind of the left-right, just imagine, somebody you think would do something vicious to you having this type of power, right? Then they go, oh, okay, maybe that is bad, right? We wouldn't want Trump to have that, because then he'll censor what I say online. How about we just don't give any of our free will up to these psychopaths, these tyrants? How about that? How about the people realize what they're trying to do? And how that old saying that everybody knows, divide and conquer, order out of chaos, how it's happening right now. And on the flip side, while everybody's paying attention to fake charade elections, these are the things that the government is passing and trying to tell you it's for your safety and your protection, right? Meanwhile, nobody trusts the government as far as they can spit. Pretty incredible. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless you as always and your families.